Hi everyone, welcome to this special New Year's Eve Hangout where we'll be discussing the darker side of the festive season, which is, where people can experience not so much the joy and celebration that's often, presented and portrayed in how we might perceive that we have to experience the festive season, but people can sometimes rather experience things like anxiety or depression, sadness, and basically the opposite of all of those positive experience that we've connected to the holidays, like Christmas and New Year's. So with us in this hangout is Tormod from Norway.
Yes.
Hi, Tormod.
Hi, guys.
And next to me is Gian, who is from South Africa, as well as me, obviously. So,
hi everyone.
Gian. So, I suggest that we first look at, describing this experience or the experiences that people can sometimes feel inside of themselves when it comes to looking at other people celebrating, or when it comes to those festive seasons and holidays where we kind of, on the one hand, feel like we have to enjoy ourselves, but at the same time, there's like something inside of ourselves that's just not enjoying itself. So, Gian, maybe can you describe your experience?
Yeah, I've had a couple of Christmases alone. Specifically, when I was 16, is where the first Christmas started was alone, meaning no one remembered Christmas, so to say, because we made a holiday arrangement. And while everyone around me was celebrating, all the houses was putting up lights, and they had families visiting, there was brides, people having barbecues, and I just didn't have anything to do. I was sitting literally in a room where it was always dark, kind of. The house was also always dark. And what I experienced with this was that maybe people don't love me, maybe people don't care for me, people has forgotten me. I felt like society has left me out because I kept seeing everyone having families, having money. That's the one point that stood out for me, is that everyone to celebrate needed money, which means they all had stability somewhere in their life for them to have these celebrations. But here I am sitting in a room, not even with my family. I'm with an uncle and an aunt, and it doesn't seem like there's money. And I'm just sitting in a room. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have presents. I don't have anything. I'm just sitting alone while I'm hearing fireworks going off. And this drove me to a certain state of mind for weeks to follow after, for example, Christmas took place, the 25th of December, where I would take this experience throughout my days and into my life. Even when I went to school or when I went back to my parents' home, they didn't even give me presents. They didn't send me anything. So I thought financially something is wrong. I made a lot of assumptions about my life. And yeah, just this first experience, I can see how I went into a depression and not valuing myself because I was expecting self-value or appreciation from others, and how Christmas has in general created this whole point of where you have to give to the people that you care about, that you have to give them presents and show, according to the presents you give them, how much they mean to you. And if you're not receiving that, if you're not getting that on that specific day, then you're going into the opposite beliefs or ideas of what the day is supposed to represent. And yeah, then at the age of 17, again, the same kind of Christmas. New Year's was always the same. I found myself in New Year's where I'm also, again, all alone. Now, I didn't necessarily go out and drink and party with friends because they're all with their families. So I couldn't do any of that. And none of them invited me to their Christmases or their New Year's parties. And I realized for myself from that point on that I had to make a change in my life and not wait for life to make changes to my life. So that's my general experience. I'm not going to go into how I changed my life yet, but yeah, Tormod, I don't know if you can relate. Do you have any input here?
Yes, my personal experience with Christmas is that from when I was a very young child, I always enjoyed Christmas because then we got to stay home from school and we got lots of presents and we got lots of candy. So growing up in Norway in the 80s and 90s, I experienced that having gifts and having lots of things and having lots of good food and quality time with family was what I would relate to Christmas. Later, when I grew older, out of my teens, I would experience that, or I would all through this also experience unconsciously what was going on in the world that we're not shown, about hunger, about starvation, about crime and abuse, and so on and so forth, system errors, so to speak, in the world that I grew up in, and but it was later that I discovered that the whole Christ message or Christmas message is totally in reverse. How we ignore or look away from all the suffering, all the split homes, all the suicides, all the alcohol abuse, all the drug abuse, everything that goes on within these holidays that is maybe dealt with to a information degree, but then it just shoved aside that now it's my time, now it's selfish, now it's packaged, now it's alcohol, etc. And I experienced that. The polarity sort of, we're realizing that the whole Christmas is in reverse. I mean, we are buying presents with paper and polluting and ruining this planet. This is the totally opposite of what Jesus Christ's birth what Jesus Christ would have said if he was here, or since he was, etc. So, I still celebrate the Christmas by going to dinners with the family and maintaining that role of participation in the family dinners. And but I would like to see it. I mean, of course, I would like for everybody to have such an experience that I have had, that could be like a support for everybody with having presents and a good dinner, etc. Good standards should be for everybody, not just for the Western first worlders. Yeah.
Cool. So, Tormod, if I understand correctly, like your experience basically shifted from very happy and joyful and enjoying the presents and the good times and the food and the family to actually like a form of disappointment almost when you realized what's going on. Like Christmas is not Jesus's message. Christmas is not benevolent. It's just consumerism, basically.
Yes, you can very much say that. And later, after I was 18 and 19 and 20, I would start drinking lots and drugging, doing soft drugs and drinking lots, and opposing the system more and more, and sabotaging the system, sabotaging my school, everything. So I ended up in psychiatry for many years, and with that sort of addictions, with those relations, with those addictions related to psychiatry, and with the many friends from such relations that suffer through Christmas, that every time we approach Christmas, like in November or maybe before that, we will start, when I meet these people from these relations, they say that, oh, Christmas is coming, it's so dreadful, I can't stand it, oh my God. And that's what they say to me. And I just 2 weeks before this Christmas, now in 2015, there was this good friend of mine who killed herself just before this Christmas now in December, and she's just another one of the statistics. I mean, of the higher rates of suicides because of people who don't have a family of their own, people who don't have a safe and secure income, 2 cars and big house, etc., or apartment. People don't have that should be fair for everybody. They end up sitting in their apartment, feeling depressed and ending up with abuses and simply suffering through all the Christmas. So it's really a big challenge to change these relations, these elements, to make Christmas into something that everybody could participate in and equally enjoy in. Yeah.
Okay, so Tormund, I have one question.
Yeah.
Right. So you are finding yourself now in December the 31st, 2015, and it's about to become January the 1st, 2016. And you are currently all alone, am I correct, in your apartment?
Yes.
And how is that experience for you to be alone at this time?
Well, honestly, last night when I went to bed alone in my alone apartment, I thought that I don't see enough people, I don't have a girlfriend, there's nobody around me, I'm lonely, and making all these thoughts bubbling up inside me, thinking that I'm isolated, I'm a freak, that I'm a reject, that I'm an outcast, so on and so forth. And but there is also hidden within the words. I mean, like just like in that word, all alone, it is like all in oneness. Like we are all equal in it together, all of us, and there are no room for that sort of. There should not be room for that sort of thoughts. And but yes, I live alone, and it strikes me that I don't see that many people that often, and it's interesting because I like being with people, but I also like to enjoy my own company with knitting and reading and so on and so forth, doing domesticating, and so I manage quite well, thank you, within coming from those relations of psychiatry and so on and so forth. Yes.
Yeah, so Tormund, I just want to bring another point. If you look at all the great masters from the past, if you look at Moses, if you look at Jesus, if you look at Lao Tzu, if you look at Osho, these people spent 20, 30 years alone by themselves before they became who they were. So aloneness isn't necessarily always bad. And if we just simply learn to know who we are within that aloneness, we can find ourselves quite entertaining because you're actually never alone. If you look at your whole body that consists of up to 55 trillion cells, each one is individually alive, you can never anyone can ever be alone. And if you look at everything around you, like plants, if you look at the air you're breathing, the bacteria, if you start considering all life, if people just start considering all life being alive, we'll find that we're actually never alone. And the only loneliness that we do experience is that of having equal communication with another human being, I would say. But that's because we also have not yet developed communication with all life equally. So I'm just taking it here a step further. And now to take it back to ourselves, how have you changed, or how have you found a way to yet be alone but be okay?
Well, I have started. What the most important thing about that I do, I think, is to keep my body active and physically work out. I go swimming once a week, and I go to gym workout every 2 or 3 times a week. And I try to make and it's like it is my. I'm very busy with maintaining these routines because these routines are very important to me. To make it not like it's a hassle, not like it's a pain and suffering and working out like I'm all exhausted and feel pain in my chest or my heart, etc. But making it a cool thing for me that I want to come back to. So that is something I'm currently working on to make my workout to be fun and enjoyable, not like it's hurtful and stressful. So I do that, and I also write. I write a lot. I'm currently writing my ebook, story of me, what I've been through, what were my tools, and also how I changed. So then I'm working on writing, and I like to read. I like to knit. I'm knitting socks. And that is part of my New Year's resolution, to knit socks and to get up early in the mornings and to start my own business.
All right. So another question.
Yeah.
I myself has found myself to be an outcast at some point in life. And as an outcast, which you experienced previously in one of your explanations of how you saw yourself as an outcast, someone that doesn't fit in, and how that is also seen as something negative within society or bad. Like, you know, being an outcast is bad, but what would happen if all the outcasts come together and we create a nice little group and we entertain ourselves and never be alone? Have you found yourself something like that?
Yes, you can say that, and that is very much what Destiny is about for me. I mean, like really genuinely wanting to change and realizing that it's self that have to change to apply change to the world. I have to change myself from ground and bottom up, and then all of me, not just parts of me, not just like change my way of thinking, sort of like with NLP and neuro linguistic programming that is popular, but I need to change my whole self and my way of viewing the world and life around me. And so participating with Destiny I process makes those changes with me, and writing in forum, my blog every day, or writing something every day and posting my blog implies those changes with me on a more esoteric level, you could say, and it makes me understand my mind, and make me cope with my mind and learn to live with self-responsibility and self-honesty within my life. Yeah.
Right, cool. So, do you have any questions for Kim?
How can we reach out to people that we walk on the streets and we see that, or we go to a cafe or somewhere, we are somewhere and we see that people are suffering and they're doing things that are not healthy, and we see that they need a hand, reach out, they would need something to talk about them. How can we, people in general, reach out? How can we dare to break those routines or those paradigm shifts that's limiting us from saying, hey, how are you doing today? Are you okay? Have you had your coffee? Or just kind words. How can we do that to a further degree?
That's a good question, and I would say that we're already doing that with this Hangout, because we are reaching out to people who are experiencing the things that we're talking about. Because like doing this Hangout is coming from that point of, what can we do to reach those people who are alone on New Year's Eve and who might be looking for a point of support, but don't necessarily find it. So hopefully then they'll go on the internet and then come across this Hangout and then watch it and then be like, oh wow, this is so cool. There's actually solutions out there. And obviously you can, like, if you see someone sitting in a cafe, you can go up to them and say hello and just start up a conversation. I mean, there's many ways to reach out, but we are very much doing that with Destiny and DIP and everything that we do.
You see, Tomo, another point that I can answer for your question is, if you reach out to someone that's at a cafe or on the street and you want to grab a coffee, which I have done, surprisingly, in one day because of the line of work I do, the communication of such a person doesn't become consistent. It's not necessarily something that can be supported for a long time, because after the coffee, the person goes home, you gave out numbers, you gave out business cards, and yeah, it just dies. But even though you didn't even talk about business, you were talking about just being people, just meeting each other. And there's no real interest in that moment that they find they need you. What I found very supportive over the internet is people kind of make their own decision to take up support and to be supported. And when it is someone's own decision, it's much easier to work with such a person and create a relationship with such a person to be there for them and for yourself. So that's if you're looking at dynamics of doing it physically for real versus doing it over the internet, which is also physically for real, it's just not in person. So there is a kind of a few dynamics you have to look at, and you can taste it out for yourself. I'm not saying it's black and white, but those are the points that I have experienced myself with reaching out to someone else. And most of the time I've realized that I've reached out to people like that in a physical way because I'm actually reaching out to myself as well. And I'm seeking to talk to someone or looking for some company with someone, but I might have projected it onto they might need it, or they're the ones that seem like they need some help. So then there's usually a disappointment of, oh, the relationship didn't continue. Why is the person not contacting me back? Why not talking to me? Meantime, it was me reaching out to others, believing they are the ones that need to be reached out to.
Yeah.
So that's, for example, my experience in that point of doing it physically, person to person.
Yeah, me too, often.
Cool.
So I see that we have a question from Jan Megens, and his question is, what helped you, Tormod?
Jan Mergens, can you perhaps ask more specifically what helped you, Tormod, in terms of getting over loneliness or being alone, dealing with any specific point?
Yeah, I can. What helped me? I can say that about loneliness. It is what you if you want to be. I mean, like you said, like all the big thinkers and big leaders of Lao Tzu or Osho or Jesus was also learning to cope with themselves. I mean, like facing themselves in honesty and dealing with self and learning to like self, and learn to live with self, learn to accept self. That is also a very important part to have a. I'm not going to name it. Some time or have experience that you are safe and secure in your own body, in your skin, with being alone, being with your own only with your own company, and within that, yeah. So that is the experience and sort of a path to choose, sort of, or if you choose to marry or to have children, that is maybe not that much of an influence on one's person as of what one chooses of direction or I'm not sure how to phrase it, but for what helped me in general was more like the working out and talking to doctor and managing my addiction, changing because we need the high, but we know we have to have the right type of high, because working out can be a high and reading can be a high, music can be a high, but there are so many bad highs also we need to sort of weed out, sort of. Yeah.
So you're looking at enjoyments.
Yeah, enjoyments. Yeah, and appreciate myself. Give myself a good cup of tea and a good book and a Mozart or whatever. Yeah.
So you're saying that you need to develop yourself into a person that you can live with by yourself for eternity.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing not just enjoyment as like the primary factor, but also like self-care. Because what you did is basically go from bad habits to good habits, which is in that point, it's like you're saying to yourself, I care about myself. And it's just that point that can already like change your relationship with yourself, where you start being able to enjoy yourself more because you know that you've got that kind of platform of care inside of yourself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because when you look at people, for example, people right now, all across the world. Now, let's imagine someone, they can be in a group of people and still feel alone. They can be in a party where everyone is loving and giving and caring, yet they can still feel depressed and alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had those moments in my life, and I believe everyone has had those moments. So when we say, when you're alone on New Year's Eve 2016, what does alone mean? Because you can feel alone anywhere you are in this world. You can physically be alone, or you can be alone, feeling alone in your experience, feeling alone in your beingness of who you are, what you want to express and live. But society doesn't necessarily support what you are feeling or what you want to express, and then you feel out and outcast. Or you can see, for example, your experience was pretty cool, Tom, where you showed that you started seeing the system and how it is using Christmas, for example, completely the opposite way of what Jesus would have done and what Christmas should mean. And that experience is carried over into any and all events. And what we're getting to now is New Year's Eve. This is usually where people make new decisions, new directions, they give themselves new goals. And the problem here is when you're in that real physical moment where you are depressed and you're feeling all alone, and 2016 is another whole year ahead of you that you have to push through, that you have to work through these same points, and you want to make revolutions, but it gets so heavy, it gets such a burden of, I have to do that for another full year. And I suppose this is what gets people down, and where, for instance, self-harm comes in within these times that, you know, there's celebrations, because there's just so much. And I don't know if you've experienced something like that, where you can see, like, you know, on 2016, for example, you're going to have to relive or take part in so many more events where you're going to experience yourself the same way as being alone and outcast, etc., etc. Have you dealt with something like that? And how have you helped yourself?
Yeah, well, standing outside. Yeah, I have been standing outside, but I have been excluding myself, but I made sure that I didn't do it in I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, because no, I'm not quite sure. That's a very difficult question to answer, because I've been participating in many form of arena within of interest. Everything from dancing, choir, singing, choir, till sitting, drinking beer and listening to death metal, rock band, practicing their metal band event, and all sorts of physical and mental abuse. And so you can say, yes, I've excluded myself by totally giving into this selfish desires of addictions and so on, and it's been almost killing me. I almost didn't survive that ride, especially like in 2011 when I was touring Amsterdam and doing all the bad stuff we could do in Amsterdam, to put it easy terms, but then again ending up with being the Portugal son, I think it's called, when my dad buys me a plane ticket, gets me home, there's a warm, nice bed, a warm meal, safety, the love from the parents, and so yeah, I've been very far out in those terms of excluding myself, and but I haven't. I've still to discover lots to my awareness about how to express myself and how to be further stable within how I live my life, and to be I still have lengths to go, and that is what keeps me going with, like, for instance, this night process and such challenges, because that is what's genuinely the most in-depth going process one can ever walk, and it's the most genuine process one could ever walk. You call it what you like, and it covers it totally. So that is my ultimate challenge after I'm 33 years old, now I'm 37, and having worked almost for 4 years now with this sort of tools and helping instruments and devices, I realized that this is sort of the ultimate test, the ultimate high, if you like, to be learning self-awareness, to learning, whatever drifts along as we manifest ourselves as life, as solution, as responsibility on this planet.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point to look at. Like, that would be how we can redefine and change New Year's resolutions so that they don't end up making us feel depressed. Because usually what we tend to do is say, okay, this next year coming, I will not do that addiction anymore, and I'm gonna lose weight. And it's like we kind of already set ourselves up to fall in those points because we have before, rather than going like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to do my best to become a better person, to basically discover what it means to become a better person, and not create those kind of expectations of ourselves that aren't practical because they're not something that we can kind of already apply here in this moment, if that makes sense.
I totally agree on that, Kim. Yeah.
Okay, so
Johannes, I mean, what helped you when you were lonely? If you want to help an outsider in a bar, just like you told, I assume this is Jan Menges. I assume that this would be like the sort of, when I lived in Stavanger, in the city of Stavanger, Norway, there was always this issue about the daycare center. It closes at 4 and the pub opens at 5, sort of. After the daycare center closes, the bar opens. So it's like you can either choose the Tivoli or insanity ride of how society is stitched together, sort of. So I think that what I think about that, how people, how the bar is then like the social or the institutional place to go to or to hang out, and that would be because there is no other alternative. The daycare center closes, and the fountain house, all the institutions that are running charity closes, and the only option is like company with the old alcohol. That is a very important question and a very big point tonight. I mean, everybody is sitting drinking and watching the New Year rockets either on a big screen or outside in the garden. So, and I mean, when I think about rockets, I think about, I mean, Iraq, this is Iraq, this is Syria. Those sort of tendencies I get when I witness, hear the bang and the glitter and everything. So I don't really like rockets or fireworks at all. But that's another story. But it's about finding those cool routines and learning those routines and being gentle with the routines. Either it's getting up in the morning, or learn to prepare your own dinner, or washing the bathroom, or doing stuff that you can be good at. You can do. I can achieve. I can make this. You know it within yourself that this is something that I can make. And from that you can start learning and expanding and developing and blocking out all the thoughts and thinking about this and that. I'm not good enough. This is not tasty. All that nonsense, and really get down to really becoming skilled in what you would like to learn. Either it's biking or preparing food or washing up crockery or whatever it is. You can achieve it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's like taking baby steps in, like, if you want to achieve something and your pattern is to go into depression because you feel like you can't achieve what you want to achieve, which is also why we would become depressed because of our New Year's resolutions not becoming reality. You know, it's more about like taking those baby steps of, okay, let me just create this small little routine, and that small little routine is going to help me just get up in the morning, you know, and once I've got that routine established, then I can start looking at changing another routine, you know, that's going to help me with another point. So it's like in baby steps, you kind of develop those things.
Yep.
So cool.
Yeah, it's like there's a saying, I'm not sure who says it, but you know, chop wood, fetch water, and after you have transcended life, you chop wood and fetch water. So you know, you kind of have to develop like habits and things that's practical, things that is supportive, things that is real, and develop those kind of relationships with yourself, your reality, so that it doesn't matter what you're going through in life, you always have those physical points in place that you know you can participate in, you can take care of it. You know you are stable, you're grounded, and it doesn't matter what happens around you, you rely on the physical to show you what's real and what's not. Instead of participating in the thoughts of, I'm not valuable, I'm useless, I'm never going to get a family, I'm never going to get married, I'm never going to be happy, I'm always going to be sad. You know, those things are all of the mind. They're not physically, practically here. And we can rather develop the skills that we can rely on and show us who we are, because who we are determines what we do. So if we develop ourselves within our reality, we develop who we are, and no one else or nothing else will later on determine that for us, nothing external. And I think that's the part of lonely people, for example, myself, experienced was I was relying on other people to give me something instead of me giving to myself. And that's the big part of self-forgiveness, where we have to forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're almost at the end of our hangout. Is there any point that either of you guys would like to bring up or discuss or look at?
Be gentle with self. I mean, be genuine. Have it's not done with Christmas, New Year's resolutions. It is cool because you can improve yourself and improve your life, and affect others with your improvements. So be kind to yourself, but be realistic and be genuine. Yeah.
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 So if we have anyone that wants to still place comments, please place comments right now. Tormod, if you have anything you want to ask me or Kim, or anything we want to ask you, now is the time.
Now is time.
Maybe I have a last question. Like, okay. Oh, hold on. We've got a question by Rebecca Dalmas. What would a holiday look like if we realized our emotions need not define who we are in the present moment?
Well, I suppose in this question, Rebecca, we can, I don't know if that question is directed at Tormod or any one of us.
I think just anyone. Oh, shit.
I would say that it would be like wearing blindfolds and then learning each other to know. You wear blindfolds, and then I'm learning to know you guys wearing blindfolds. That could be it. Like a game, like a party game all night long.
Yeah, so how do I see a holiday like that? Well, I don't see resolutions or New Year or anything like that happening, because if emotions wouldn't define us, then, well, the world would be different completely, and we would all be like amazing, caring, give as you would like to receive, love thy neighbor as thyself, because it's not all based on just our own emotions and how they make us feel. It's about a global awareness of everything being connected, being one family, being one giving, there's no new year, it's a consistent movement. Currently, we're categorizing the world in years and in holidays, and we're excluding and including so many people. You have your wealthy, you have your middle class, you have your poor. Each one is excluded or included depending on the holiday. You know, it is such a limited world we live in, just because we define who we are on emotions. And the world can be so much different if everyone is just one and equal. And there is no time, there is no year, there is no holidays. It's just one consistent living. It's one expression that is always here, the same as each other, for each other. And you don't have to blindfold yourself, because if you're not defining yourself by emotions or feelings, then what you will see will not be what stimulates any emotional feeling, which means you'll not see a picture, you'll see what is here of a being, of a person. And therefore, when people get depressed about relationships or not getting married, those exact points is because people define each other based on looks, based on appearances, based on emotional feelings that they get from other people, which is again excluding people, which is again a separation point, which is again, in a sense, evil. Because here, everyone is judging everyone, and everyone is criticizing everyone based on how they look, how much money they have, what holiday they can participate in or not participate in, what can they make as New Year's resolutions for 2016, depending on what money they have, how they look, what they're capable of. We have so many limitations placed on ourselves in this world just because of how we are defining ourselves as emotions and how emotions make us feel. It's a self-interest point, self-interest driven. So we cannot even look at the world as in fact being one body that is expressing itself continuously, one and equal. And that's why the world is being burned and destroyed and fucked up to what extends all across the world, yet we are having celebrations, yet we are having fireworks going off for 2016 as if something's going to change, as if the world is going to be brand new suddenly. But it won't happen unless each and every single human takes self-responsibility and actually start living to care for one another in this physical reality as a practical application. But this cannot happen just going out and greeting people, because those people have not taken self-responsibility yet. They do not understand yet what's happening. This is why the Destiny I process is so important, because we can each, in our own time, in our own space, start developing ourselves, start taking self-responsibility, start developing who we are, becoming the creators for our life, start understanding the principles of oneness and equality, and we can really live that by ourselves and then expand outwards, go outwards and start living this, resonating this into the world one at a time. But hey, that's just what I have to say about that.
I think that's pretty well said. So, Ronald, would you
I just support that. It's 100%, 100%. Very cool speech.
Yeah, I think that's a nice closing statement.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that this hangout is a wrap.
Good.
Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you all for the questions. They were very welcome, and we'll see you next year.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Tormod. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Yes.